All right, here we go. Welcome to the show, Major Tom,
Thank you, love. Thank you.
my beloved friend who's looking fly and I love very much. I know who you are, but let's tell the internet who you are. Like your name, what you do, what you're working on.
Got it. I'm Tom Daly. I go by Major, Major Tom. I live in Austin. Right now, I'm doing during quarantine. I am working on a workshop. I have an intimacy retreat on May 8th through 10th with Hazel Grace.
Oh, I love Hazel.
Yeah, she was a fucking gift to moving to Austin for sure when I first got here. We clicked immediately. We have a good tight bond. I'm teaching improv, long form improv, starting June again after like our Cold Town. Yeah, I do a little random. Did a virtual play party. I'm doing another one at the end of after the virtual retreat. Yeah, so that's currently. I have my schedule's like not super busy currently in the times of quarantine.
Yeah. Well, that's still, I mean, first of all, that is a lot. Like some people are doing nada.
Right.
And it's like kind of all over the place. I'm really curious about like the intimacy retreat and then also this play party. How are y'all doing that stuff online? Do you have anything to
Yeah.
share about that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the intimacy retreat is going to be essentially 3 days of facilitators. Um, there's just going to be like, I think there's 30 facilitators that are going to be doing workshops. And these workshops are based on trauma release, self-care, self-love, intimacy, sexuality. It's just like all types of things. There's going to be a play party. We're using different platforms. There's a few different platforms people are using. Zoom is apparently trying to crack down on people being naked, which is weird.
Oh no, this
I know,
changes
it's
everything.
so weird. Like, what does it matter? So it's going to be like a lot of facilitation. It's essentially a retreat on just like learning, just information gathering at this time. Like, why can't you? I think learning right now would be the best bet during a quarantine. Just pick up some new tools for your sex life, for your intimacy, for romance, for yourself, you know? So it's that. When it comes to the play parties, I did use Zoom. Sorry, Zoom.
Come and get me. What you gonna do?
Right. We've been toying with it for a few, like when it first started, I was definitely against it. I don't really connect that way generally in my normal life. I'm a very in-person person. I'm very social. So what we figured out was like people want to see each other. So like at first there wasn't a limit. So I remember we had like 35 on one, and then like you had to split the screen, 35 screens. When the max per page is going to be 25. So we put it on 25. I still use like authentic relating sentence stems and games. There were some mirroring activities. My last play party, I used this ASMR storyteller thing, which was like I had these. It was one of those
That
experiences.
sounds so hot.
It was experimenting. Like we were like, me and a friend of mine were like, she wanted to help out and she had a friend that wanted to help out. We were like, okay, we're shooting things back and forth. And I was like, I'm super into like ASMR and storytelling could be fun. Just like, yeah, but yeah, we just figured it out and I let you do it. Oh, that room was hot. When I tell you, it was like, people were just like in this, and they set it up really nice, lit erotica, and they were like telling stories and like moaning and putting like sounds into the microphone. So we had like a big speaking room. It was so sexy. It was like interactive storytelling. So I had them come back for the virtual. So that was like telling stories, those sexy sounds, and then telling people what to do themselves. That was super fun and sexy. Essentially, when it comes down to it, there's a lot you can do on the Zoom space when it comes to play parties. It's like you can play with like the power dynamics of sub and dom, and like you have people like type in what in the chat like what they want people to do, and people don't even know they're being told what to do. So they're like, some people are like, I had one friend that was like telling me what to do. She's really good at being a virtual dom.
Oh
like,
my God.
shoot your body up, spank your, like just telling you what to do, and no one knows you're being told what to do. And they're just like giving compliments, and there was like practicing consent was still something that I wanted to like integrate into the virtual space, which is like if we want to give compliments onto a screen, we ask that screen, can we comment on that screen and like on what's happening? And like, yeah, so we still want to like incorporate like consent, the culture of consent, not just like assuming just because we're on screen that we want someone to be like, oh, you look so hot, look at your boobs, look at your cock. Like, we didn't want that to be, we wanted people to feel still safe and comfortable, and it worked out. It was hot. It was like a virtual orgy. Like, it was 25 screens and people were like going at it. It was sexy.
That's awesome. That makes me like want to come hang because I was, I have this little aversion that I'm getting over of doing things through the screen. But on the other hand, like I'm a fucking cam girl. I do that shit all the time.
Right.
I don't think I connected to it the same way as like, if I go to a play party, like I want it to be more, I want to also like not be as performative. Like I want to be more in it, So I was curious about how that worked out. That's so cool. I love the idea of someone like in my private chat, like making me do stuff and everybody else having to watch. That sounds so hot.
Yeah, it was surprisingly like more connected than I thought it would because of I'm so used to like this emotion building up and like we're connecting so much intimacy. But it was like people were like really showing up like, I've never done this and I want to try like being in my feminine. There were male bodies that were like, I want to feel like I'm in my feminine. I want to dance for the screen for y'all, and like we were allowing that and supporting them. So it was still a space of like support. It was really beautiful.
That's so sweet. Well, I remember going, do you mind sharing a little bit about your in-person play parties that happened before and that will probably happen after?
Yes, they definitely will. The amount of messages I get.
Like, I need to fuck everyone immediately.
Like, seriously, when is this happening? Yeah, I integrate like the idea of like authentic relating in my opening and how I like want people to connect. How I started doing it. It was pretty selfish. It's like I went to one. There were things I didn't like about it. And was like, how could I drop in more? Like, what would make me feel safe? What would make me feel comfortable? Getting a little more intimate or even sexual with people. And so I kind of just figured like I know authentic relating was like a space that always drops in with people, and like I like gained so many close friends or like intimate relationships out of like an authentic relating night. So I started to add that, and essentially like I come up with a theme or an idea of like what I visually want, and then I create games and I curate the invite list to make sure that the people that I'm inviting will be aligned with that. And like I have like a power play, I have like a primal bliss, which was like a really beautiful, like I just wanted people to just create just inner ecstasy and like create it, and it was like this beautiful orgy that happened. Mm-hmm. So like it's just, yeah.
That's super cool. And I want to like, not to make it sound like I'm totally shifting gears, but like you mentioned AR, which is authentic relating, which is I think how we met. A really like powerful interpersonal game situation. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and like your experience with it?
For me, yeah, I remember when authentic relating came about, I was seeking a space where I could grow in how I communicated. I was not an emotional, like when emotions came in, that was my stuff. Like I was very like internal, like I will handle it. I was very supportive to other people, but also like you would think I just like didn't have I had like annoyance and party vibes. That was like my, it was like I was either.
I like to party. That's my only emotion.
It's like I'm like having a good time, or I'm like annoyed and like checking somebody. And I had a bad breakup, and I needed that, and I didn't communicate in that relationship well, and so like the gift I got from that relationship was like to never do something like that to anyone again. And I found that space. Like there's just like the themes that come up in authentic relating is like essentially just like you're figuring out yourself. It's very like introspective, but you are communicating what's going on inside and like what's happening, what your thoughts are about self or your experiences. And it was like it opened up my tear duct. Essentially, I started crying when I started doing authentic relating. I was not crying. I probably didn't cry for a year before I did authentic relating. And like I was accessing the things that I was bottling up. And there was a space for me to allow myself to talk and cry and be in my emotions and be okay with my emotions in a group setting.
Yeah, that's so incredible. And what I'm kind of inspired to ask, if you feel comfortable speaking on it, is kind of the situation that men are in around emotions and like some support they're lacking. Would you mind like sharing your perspective around that?
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like I was always a sensitive kid, but there was like the crying was not welcomed. So it was always like, you need to man up. You need to stop crying, boy. You ain't got nothing to cry about. Like I was emotional. I had feelings. And so I started to like essentially like feel like there wasn't a need for me to cry. Like things have to happen that needs to be so extreme that tears would happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like if I got into a fight, I wouldn't cry. If I got hurt, I wouldn't cry. It was just like there was no need, but I still feel bottled up. I had a lot of creative outlets as a creative and a performer. Like I luckily was still in theater, so I had outlets that allowed me to like express or explore emotion, but I just in my real life it just wasn't very common. With my dad wasn't he passed that was like the shift for me. My dad passed away, and he was like obviously my figure of male, and he was his choice of emotion was anger, and I didn't connect to that. So I've always had like I don't want to be angry, I can't be sad. So I was like being joyful was like a thing that I could connect to. It was like having joy and laughing regardless of whatever. Something that I still connect to. Levity is something that's really important to me regardless of growth. Like levity is me.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
I'm always laughing. I'm always having a good time. Even in pain, I will laugh and joke, but it's a space of truth. Like it's not like I'm trying to cover up. It's like that is my truth. So I do feel like there was like image of like an identity of like if I cry too much, it means certain things. It doesn't mean I'm like mature maybe, or I'm not reaching manhood. I didn't have like the most like I need to be a man like this type. I wasn't that type of person where it's like I emulated men. I just knew that crying wasn't like what adult men should do, and that was like a thought. Like it just was like men shouldn't be crying all the time. It's like it's not necessary. Then I realized like happiness brings tears. Like all those, you know what I mean? Like there's like so much.
Yeah.
Like peak when I'm in my happiest spaces, I'm usually in tears. Like I love everything so much. And it's like now I feel a space that it's comfortable to do that, and I don't usually like it's. I'm glad I reached a point where like emotions are beautiful and they're helpful and they're welcome in the spaces that I've curated for myself, and that is just what I was seeking in general. Was like I need to be safe to allow myself to express myself and be whatever that looked like. I wanted to find a space or create a space that was allowed.
Yeah, and I think that that's another powerful piece too. Like the finding a space is great, but when you say creating a space, like I really resonate with that because, you know, that's kind of some of us are people that will birth, you know, community and birth space and birth that safety out of a place where we didn't feel safe, and that does take bravery and work. So I commend you for doing that. Little levity. I love you saying that, like the joy and the levity, because I totally see that for you. And let's talk a little bit about your performance background, because you know I'm a fucking theater kid, and that influences everything I do. So tell me about that journey for you.
I honestly, this is acting and performing in film have always been my thing. I can recall when it started in 4th grade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw The Crow and was like, that's the life I want to live. Like I was like, I want to.
Oh, that's so cute.
I want to create these stories. Like my mind just started like internally creating stories and like holding them. I can remember the story called Demon Heart, and it was about a kid who had a heart transplant, and the heart transplant was from a guy who was a demon. And I wanted to act this out. I told all my friends their roles, like the areas, like it was like, and I did that up until I was like, that was how I played till I was like 16. When I babysat kids, I was like, okay, so this area is this thing, this here, and this is your emotional, this is your journey that you're going through right now. Like it's always been a thing. I started improvising in 6th grade. I started modeling and acting in probably 7th, 8th grade. I went to John Casablanca, the modeling and acting school. I was in my high school prom catalog. I did my first play in middle school, but I didn't like it because I was like one of the cool kids. So being in front of your school in a play, there was no point for me to talk. Like literally, I walked out and the school erupted, and it was just like laughter and calling my name and screaming. And I was like, well, that's not what's supposed to be happening. I'm supposed to be saying things. No one can hear me. It's fine. All right. I was Mr. Bundles and Annie. Yeah, I remember like well, that wasn't like what I would want to happen when I'm in theater.
Yeah.
So yeah, so and then I did move to Chicago for Second City and IO, which I went to their programs. I worked out there for 10 years. Um, then when I went backpacking, I kind of like put acting. I started doing more performance art stuff when I went backpacking through Europe and the States.
As one does. That's such a vibe.
It was I mean, it makes sense, but it's also like, that makes sense. I was like really pushing my boundaries. I was doing a lot more edgier performances, doing things on the street. I started doing more circus arts and trapeze and juggling and like singing, jamming on the corners and stuff like that. So it's like, I went through a journey. I've done like my little shifts. Now I'm teaching. So it's like, I have a show weekly in Austin when we get back to things. We have a show Cotown TV on Friday. But yeah, I had a show every Wednesday with Sugar Water Purple. It was an all POC improv troupe, and it was really goofy. I was really blessed to have come to Austin, find them, and then being like, come play with us, please. Like, I had a show in Houston, they saw me and was like, nope, you're on our troupe. And I was like, cool. So I've always performed. I've always that's me. I'm a goofball, and I am not afraid to get on stage and be stupid.
I love that. And were you doing stand-up for a little bit too?
Not stand-up, but I was doing more like storyteller. Yeah, I was doing more like storyteller stuff and improv. Yeah.
That is so cool. And what I'm thinking now is, when you talk about AR and you talk about improv, like I've noticed that there are so many ways that those kind of align.
Yes.
Like, would you be willing to kind of speak on your experience with that?
Well, there were like some games in improv that were like mirroring that comes up in authentic relating. There's a difference because I feel like in improv, it's a stream of consciousness of like creativity, which authentic relating is a stream of consciousness of like self. Like you're really tapping into like truthfulness of yourself, where like your creativity in improv is like more, you're like creating ideas. It doesn't have to be self, it's like the information that you have about humans. Whereas like authentic relating is like the information you have about yourself and your experiences.
Yeah.
So it's like more personal. Whereas teaching improv and having that background of authentic relating, if I'm going to teach people how to emote or how to act like realistically in an emotion, I'm going to bring in authentic relating games so they can like actually be in a real space of emotions before I tell them to like now go play in it, but like see it, like what comes up when these people are talking about their sadness or their happiness. I had a girl quit my improv class because it was too intimate. I was like,
ooh.
I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I first did a workshop on emotion and character work, and people were crying and shit, but they were like, they came to my workshop to do that, and they were like super into it. And they were like crying, and then I did that for my level 1 improv class, and some girl was like, this is way too intimate. And I was like, okay. I'm like not against that. I'm sorry that you feel that way, but also that this is human emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions are real. So,
well, it's like that, not to interrupt, but that's so funny how some people are attracted to performance because they don't want to be themselves anymore, and some people are attracted because they want to be themselves so bad.
Yes. And there's like so much to learn in the idea of dissecting human behavior. There's so much to learn about yourself and other people, and to tune into that and drop into like, even like improv to teach you to watch, to like listen to your partner's movements. Like you're watching and listening to everything they're doing. So that means like in your real life, you can communicate non-verbally because you are watching and picking up on all these like non-verbal communications that the body is doing to gauge what's happening. Mm-hmm. So you can predict while you're on stage, like, they're going this way. They said this, and they have this incantation. That's not the word I wanted. they said it this way, so they mean this. There's underlining. You can read in between the lines, where that is so useful in like real communication. Like picking up the signs for people is really useful. A lot of people don't have those tools, but it's a valuable tool to just communicating with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the relationship with like play that I found, because, you know, before AR, the thing, I was crying all the time, but I was not playing, you know? And so I learned, even though I was a performer and did improv, like I kind of learned this sort of like being able to access that kind of fun, floaty part, you know? And so improv games have also done that for me before, where I feel like I'm in a space where I'm really connected and everyone has like the similar energy and we're like moving each other's energies together, you know? Like it's an interesting perspective.
Yes, dropping in the energy is one of those things that I feel like I always give props to improv. Like being able to gauge the entire room is really important.
Yeah.
In improv, like, okay, the energy's low, so I need to like pick it up. Or, you know, someone's feeling this way, so I need to do this. And like as a facilitator in authentic relating or my conscious play parties, it's the same thing. Like I have to gauge the energy. Like, is there a lull? What do I add now?
Can you tell me about what that looks like in a play party? Like, what do you consider your role during the party?
I am extremely involved in the sense of like, I have to track everyone's emotion. So you will see me in a play party, and it's usually like a larger home. I'm walking around. I'm checking in everybody. I'm picking up what's happening. I'm seeing the couples that are having their discussions and picking up why they're having this discussion. I'm seeing people standing around. And if there's people that are in a space of like fear or shyness, it's my place to come communicate with them and drop in with them so they feel more comfortable. And I will bring them to a group of people and create a communication, a group of a conversation to make sure everyone's with each other and add them in. Or I will ask people like, what is it you came here for? Like, what is your fear, or what is your desire, or what is a desire in general that you had before this? I generally know a lot of that from a lot of people because I generally know the people pretty well. So like I know what they want. So I'm like, okay, you need to be over here. You need to be in this group of people. You need to talk to this person. Go ask people, or I give them games and tasks to like, you have to go ask somebody for what you want.
Ooh.
You're sitting here and you're afraid. That's cool, but go ask for what you want, and I'll be here in support afterward. But like, you have to go ask.
That is so interesting. I cannot imagine. Like, that would bring me so much pressure. It seems like you love it.
I absolutely adore it. It's so much fun to me because I'm seeing people's growth, and I'm seeing people like the joy that it brings up, and I'm seeing people support each other. That to me is just like the ideal space of like people supporting each other, people like actively trying to pursue growth and like pushing their edges. Like to me, it's just like, this is perfect. Y'all doing the work, and I create the space, I create the community and the ideals, and y'all do it.
Yeah, for sure. That actually brings up some curiosity. So, like, I practice a lot of sex magic myself. And so, like, sexual energy and keeping myself, like, protected and putting myself out there, those are, like, dynamics I work with personally. I'm wondering, do you have, like, any resonance with your spirituality and sexuality? Like, does that manifest in your life at all?
Um, in a sense of like, I believe that I am really comfortable with energy. Like I'm sensitive to energy. Like I feel the energy. I'm really good with people. I don't, people who know me know I'm like, I would never consider myself a spiritual person. I'm more of a philosophical or ideas person. I like information, and I use that information to integrate it into how I live my life. And there's, and I utilize that in my sexual space as well. Like I, I, I believe that there's growth and there's power into creating the world you want to live in. So if I'm curating or creating the world I want to live in, that means I'm asking for the things I want always. Whether I'm at a party and there's 15 people in a jacuzzi, and this ain't a play party, but I want all your hands on me, that's what I'm going to ask for. Even if it's a no, but I'm going to, because it's like a truth for me, I want all y'all to be giving me a massage right now. That's my choice. I'm going to do that. And most of the time I hear yes. And that is a power of like, you're saying no to yourself. And I grew up saying no to myself. So to me, it's like the power of like, yes, improv, yes, Andy, yes, myself, yes, myself, so I can live the life I want to live. And if I'm living the life I want to live, there's so much light and joy that I'm creating naturally. So like, to me, that's more how I see the thing. I'm not, like there's information in sex magic that I can pertain and utilize in my facilitation, but it's more the information and like the embodiment of like being in yourself and knowing that you have all the powers and the tools to create this beautiful life.
Yeah, that really shook something loose when you said you're saying no to yourself, because I like come in contact with that in my life, and I see it in others that like we don't even wait for the rejection. Like we are so programmed to
Mm.
reject ourselves before we even go for the ask, you know?
And the truth of it is, me being bisexual, that was like half of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah. Ugh.
identifying as someone who liked all bodies, I literally would say no when it came to men. I was like, don't say that. Don't ask for that. Don't, it's not possible. So I spent most of my life saying no to myself and going through depressions and like, I went through a lot of depressions growing up because I wasn't allowed to just be. I couldn't be. And it was like, I was saying no to myself all the time and wasn't able to create the space I wanted to live in. And once that stopped, I'm just like the happiest person because it's like, you know, you just gotta say yes and allow people to say no to you. Let them reject you. Don't reject yourself. Let them reject you.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a place of love and care and light, like just live in a space of love out of your heart space. And people, the things that happen, they will happen. And people will say no to you. And that's totally fine. They have their autonomy. People should say no to you. That builds trust. They know what they want. Allow people to say no.
Yeah, that's a powerful message too, especially like, you know, I've struggled saying no because I was kind of, you know, trained to sort of accommodate the needs of others. And so when I'm in AR or a play party, I'm really empowered to say no when I need to, and sometimes even say no just to say it.
Mm-hmm. That's fun. That's sexy. Like, especially in relationship, to like tell my partner, like, no, you're not getting this tonight. And like, and watch them just like, well, I'm gonna eat you up when you say yes. It's like, that is hot. That is hot to be like, withhold that. Like, you can hold that power and let it build. Like, you can't do that right now. In the play party, I say when you can say no, but it's like the dynamic should be like a space of like, no, but don't play with them. Like, this is a no.
Mm-hmm.
But you can change. You can always change a no to a yes. So like, that's the power of it. Like, it's a no right now.
Yeah.
And it could be just a no because I want to be like ready. I'm not ready right now.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
I
you
am.
like you listened to it. And so
Yes,
now like I trust you. So when my body's ready, like,
exactly. And to have somebody come back to you and be like, I'm ready for that. That is like, I get chills thinking about it. I'm like, I love when somebody's like, I've been thinking about what you said and I'm comfortable now. Or
yeah,
I've watched you and I feel more safe around you now that I want to say yes now.
that's good. That's yummy. That's
Yes.
really yummy. Would you feel like, I'm kind of curious because this isn't really for the poly podcast, but like I kind of want to hear about like what's going on. Like what was your journey with like sexuality, polyamory, non-monogamy, like even in this space too? Because I'm sure moving to Austin probably was like record scratch. Like you're
Yeah.
probably wondering how I got here.
But the thing is, like, I came here
For
because I
that.
was going on basically. I was going on a poly date, and that person had a fiance. Um, and I started doing authentic relating. I would come every Sunday to Austin, and there was a lot of more non-monogamous people. I have never been monogamous. When I was 16, I lost my virginity to my girlfriend, and I called my best friend literally immediately. That's so embarrassing. But I like called my best friend afterwards, like, y'all, I'm not a virgin anymore, blah, blah, blah. Then I hung up the phone and was like, wait, he's still a virgin. Do you want to have sex with him? He was like, what? I was like, I mean, it's my best friend. He's still a virgin. Um,
That
and
is
I
so
was like,
funny. Like not even clicking. Like
I've always been that way. Like, oh, I did this thing, so go do that with my friend.
yeah.
Like, I was always a sharer. Sharing is caring. Then coming here, though, the polyamory came in of like the actual like boundaries and rules and ideals and styles that all came in. I was in a relationship with people that were committed to growth. They were pretty chaotic, but they also like we were workshop junkies. They did a lot of workshops on polyamory and discussion groups. So we were just like really diving in and like learning what works for us. Kitchen table works for me best. After that relationship, I realized solo poly was the best space for me right in this space that I am in contact with a lot of people sexually. I run conscious play parties, so like my connections to people are very intimate and sexual.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now it would be weird to be like, it's like
Yeah.
solo poly is the best bet because I have a lot of intimate connections. So that was like a journey of learning myself and like where I am in my space and learning my boundaries and what makes me feel good, what do I need. And that's for every style of relationship. I think to me, polyamory doesn't mean like I date everyone or have sex with everyone. It's literally about curating the relationship that works for me. Like that's all when people, I'm like, I'm non-monogamous. You can say I'm poly, but I just like to have relationships that work for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to have like walk into something like, oh my God, we're gonna get married and get on white horses and run off into some like happy ever after and everything's gonna be good. We're gonna have 45 babies. I don't want to have like that thought process. Like this works for us. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I've always. The last relationship, the lady that got me into authentic relating that I broke her heart was we were basically like we are compatible and we would trust each other raising kids. We should go on that journey together. That was how we like literally were like. We like each other's minds. We like how we are. We like each other's families. We like the way each other look. We like being around each other. We should have kids. We should go on that journey.
That is
like,
so cute.
Yeah, it was like that was the journey. And now I'm like in a space of tribal. Like I want to have like if I have a child, I want to do it in a tribe, like a group of people. And we all take care of each other and take it. This kid has like multiple adult humans to look up to.
Yeah, I love the idea of communal child rearing. And that's actually been like kind of a block, because I'm still in fucking Houston with all these squares. And like, everyone's like, but what about the children? Like, meanwhile, like sending them to church to be alone with pastors. Like,
people are, I mean, humans, we're told one thing and we believe it. And that's just, we are easily indoctrinated with information. And the church has done a brilliant job at being like, this is the best bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the best bet. And that is, and I understand it. I was raised in it. So it's like one of those things like, we live in a Puritan country. So obviously the church is where, but the thing is, there are so many different avenues and ideological viewpoints that show you that you can do so many other things. But I mean, if you don't have the information, a lot of times we can't create the world because we don't have the vision. So I get it, but it's also like, people need to just realize that if we can raise a baby, a lot of things are indoctrinated. Like people now in Austin are not even raising their kids with like he, she pronouns. They're like, this is they, this is a baby.
Yeah.
we know this is
That's
a baby.
how I want to do it.
Yeah, and it's like, that's a unique space. It's new to me. I don't have kids, so I don't have an opinion on what to do with kids. All I know is like, once I have kids, I'm going to do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put the information into them that I feel is necessary for them to grow up to be happy and explore this planet or this thing called perception of being alive, so they can do that themselves and like do it out of a place of goodness, or like, I hate saying good and badness, but like a light heart space.
That is so sweet. Yeah, it's really interesting to think about like the paradigm shift, for us in the South, like, coming from the church into this, hippy dippy, but all of it is so like, it's really about releasing rigid thinking, because now, when I read, Christian text, or I read about any religion, really, there's so much truth in it. And I think like a lot of the programming isn't necessarily from the religion, it's from the society around us, like my grandma didn't know, but her mom told her, and so it's like they didn't even have to read the Bible. They just believed this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That was something that was like when I started to come to like my like self and like my own mind, is when I started going pretty hard into Christianity and was like a Christian coach, like for the church. I don't even know what they're called right now. The like Christian camps, whatever, that they send your kids to. I was like a counselor.
That is so cute.
And I was like super into it. But then it was like, I remember my friend who like got me into it. I was like, did you read all the Bible to like, because you're saying these things and that's not the truth. And it doesn't say that in the Bible. He was like, I didn't like read the whole Bible, but like, I don't need to read everything to know what it's about. And I was like, all right, okay. Well,
the Bible's so short.
I'm like, but also like, if you're doing it your whole life, he's been like, this is his whole life.
Yeah.
So I feel like there needs to be a point of like you understanding and not putting this ideal behind it. Like, this is what it said. And if you're going to say like, if half the text doesn't matter, some of the text does matter, I'm just confused at what you're trying to say, because none of it's like aligned. It doesn't align. So that is kind of my thing, is like, if it's not in alignment, I like the idea of Jesus. Jesus was a dope ass human. Like, be selfless, love everyone. Like, if y'all could just do that, don't judge people. If y'all could just do that, like, why are you worried about what other people are doing?
Yeah.
If God sees it, God sees it. You don't. What are you doing? What's your judgment? What are you gonna do? You got the key to the door to let everybody in? Like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I appreciate it, but I also just wish they would actually take the ideals out of like and actually take them in and like love people, be selfless, and
Yeah.
we won't be good.
Yeah, release the programming, because even people that aren't Christian have that programming
Oh,
of,
there's religion is programming.
yeah. And so is the economy though. Like, I got to get mine. Like, if I give my stuff away, I'm going to be broke and homeless. Like, all of these lies that we're told.
Yeah. I mean, capitalism is a real thing as well, and it's showing its face currently in this pandemic of like, we have to open up instead of putting precaution into like what would be the best bet. It's like, the economy's going down, so yeah, whatever. And it's like, but again, there are people that are like, yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. A lot of people aren't free thinkers. A lot of people, whatever information they're told, it is fact. And that is just the truth of it. We can't, that's nothing to argue. It's information that they decide to take in, and it's their truth. We can battle people all along, but it's like, that's y'all truth. And honestly, I'm gonna let you do you. Because I'm gonna do me, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are such a free thinker. I really love that about you. And I love that phrase. I'm like curious. So if somebody wants to be like you, what's like a window into your routine? Like, are you dancing? Are you writing? What does your life look like?
All the things. Ecstatic dance is something that I hold real hard. Like, that's like my motivation of movement and like meditation. Like, that was the first time I feel like I've meditated was in movement, and I feel like that's almost, it felt like ancestral. Like, this is like my life. This is like my ancestors. Like, movement is important to me, and I'm able to clear my mind and like really just like tune into myself and like declutter and defragment all these ideas and all these energies I'm taking in. So like ecstatic dance and movement is really important. I do write a lot. I kept journals most of my life. Now I'm in a space of writing like screenplay synopsis of parts of my life right now. Like, yeah, like certain parts of my life, like my coming of age situation. There was a 2-year stint of like a huge shift in my life, and then I'm doing like when I was trying to figure out sexuality, I'm going into that space of like being told certain things and feeling certain things, and like diving into cultures and just and figuring it out. Like I think that's important for specifically Black men to see. One, that it's okay to not be the heteronormative man. You can be a tribal leader and step into a space that is yours, regardless of what people are telling you. As long as you're clear and you know who you are, and you've done the work to be like, this is me, I'm good, then that is important. Like, do the work, like, do all the work. Do the work when it comes to shadow work, when it comes to emotions, it comes to your family, it comes to trauma cycles, all of it. Like, go into it. I believe we should all step into that space and like really dive into ourselves, and I do that frequently. Yeah, so movement, do the work, write, reflect on self a lot, and tune into like, how do you show up? Like, how are you trying to show up? Is it like performative, or are you being yourself? And like, how can you tell when things are not true to yourself when you're being? Like, when you're acting or you're being, like, can you tell when this is not myself? And how do you stop that? Like, this isn't me, so why am I doing it?
Wow. Yeah.
Is this my emotions, or am I holding someone else's emotions right now? So how do you know when it's like you or the out world? How do you know that? So how do you like tune into yourself and be mindful of like self? Like, this is me, that's you.
Yeah, I didn't even think about how like important that is to think about how you show up in the world, because before I started the work, I really didn't think I had any control over how I show up for people. Like, I really thought that how I showed up for people was at the whim of external circumstances. And like, the things that you're talking about, meditation, being creative, being self-reflective, those things give you so much more control over how you react and how you show up and how you're able to heal yourself and how you can, be there for others.
There's definitely a choice point in all of us. Every moment there's a choice point of like, I'm doing this now. I'm acting this way now. There's a point. And so like being mindful and slowing down sometimes to be like, what is true? What should I do now? Or how can I like shake things up? How can I move this way? And like, and being present and mindful of like self and our actions and how we affect people is like a good space of being like, this is who I am. This is how I show up. Walking into a room and everyone looks at me or gets uncomfortable. Why is everyone uncomfortable?
Yeah.
And it's a place of acceptance of like, that's how you get to a place of like, this is who I am and I accept that. I have this effect on people. I can't change that. Me being a tall Black man, if someone's afraid of me, I can't change that. By like, if that's a fear, I can just be me. And if they see my heart and just like who I am, that they're safe, they can. But if they don't, because it's like, there are those two things that matter, I can't change that. So I can't worry about that.
Yeah, because that's them ignoring their choice point.
That's exactly
them not knowing that they have a choice to say.
They have a choice in this.
Yeah.
This person is. There's no reason to be afraid. Mm-hmm. And the same is like when people are like super attracted to me, I can like that go to my ego, but also be like, cool. Mm-hmm. Like that's totally your thing, and there are other people. So congratulations. Like that's not my thing.
Yeah.
Like, unless I'm like super attracted to you, your attraction to me could literally not matter to me. Mm-hmm. That's my choice to be like, cool.
Yeah.
That's not like, I don't need to be like, oh great, oh my God, someone likes me. No, that's the thing that they're dealing with.
Yeah, it's like about you behaving from your truth.
Yeah. And that was the thing I had to like really like latch onto. So it's like, this is I can't, when my dad passed away, that was like a moment of being like, I had to correct everyone when they apologized or said like, got really sad. It was like, that's your thing. My thing is not sadness. Life to me is life and death. We have a beginning point, we have an end point. Those are the facts. So to me, when he passed, it was like, he passed. All right, I will process that. But I didn't cry. I was in a different space. And people were so like, oh, and I was like, can you not do that with me? That's not where I am. Right, like that's not where I am, and I don't feel like crying for you when it's my issue.
Yeah.
This is like my stuff.
Amen.
And I get like, and people, we all assume that we all deal with things the same. And that's just another point of being like, we all have our own experiences. So allow everyone to have their experiences. We need to stop this like heavy, thick paintbrush stroke on everyone. We all do the same thing. It's like, we don't. Some of us are actually different. Most of us are. And some of us are actually acting. So, and I get that, but it's also like, just allow people to have their space. And that's important to me in general. Just like, allow everyone to be an individual.
That's a hot place to stop it. Let everyone be an individual. I love that so much. So where can we find you if we want to follow your shit?
If you want to follow my shit, I have go on my mailing list on consciousplay.net. Tom Daly or Major Tom on Facebook. I am Major Tom on Instagram. Yeah, I don't post a lot on social media. I do have a mailing list so people can keep up with like what my facilitations are. Yeah, so anywhere of any of those places, you are free to do that.
Yay! Yeah, that's actually something I want to maybe just like as a bookend. You know, when people are interested in a play party, it's not like the kind of thing where you buy a ticket and you take it to the train station. Right. There's like, you know, if you're on the list and you're vetted and stuff like that.
Exactly. When it comes to mine, there's like there are open play parties.
Yeah.
And mine are not open play parties. Like if you buy a ticket and I do not know your name, you will receive an email. And that email is required for you to answer to meet with me to have a sit down talk first. And I need to get to know you and get a vibe with you before I allow you into my spaces that I create. When it comes, but I put the invites of like the open play parties on my mailing list because I know a lot of facilitators want everyone, if they feel like everyone should be involved and anyone can walk in. I don't feel like that it's like my vibe, but like I do put that in my mailing list of like all the Austin or Colorado, New York or Houston. If I know of any of those, I usually put them in my mailing list.
Cool. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I love the work that you're doing. I loved seeing your face online. I want to see more of you. So if you need anything, let me know. And I am just like, I'm excited for everybody's work during quarantine, you know?
I know. It's so exciting. Thank you for letting me do this. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
Isla, thank you.
Bye.